And we've got plenty of questions about our neutrality, and of course this was one of the issues that came up the last time round when the Lisbon Treaty was held. Lieutenant General Pat Nash, good morning to you.
Good morning, Karen.
Now, can you perhaps just address this whole issue about the European Defence Agency and what Lisbon does for the EDA, and also whether our neutrality, whether these guarantees given for our neutrality are actually as rock solid as some people claim?
Yes, well, first of all, Karen, I would just like to say that I was a soldier until June, and I have not been in the political world, and I have no intention of getting into the political world, but I have been a practitioner for the past 2 years in the area of the European Security and Defence Policy as the Operation Commander for EUFOR Chad or CA, and have seen at first hand how it works. And I have been very conscious that there is a great worry out there by people, and I can fully understand it, in relation to this thing that they probably see as a monolith in Brussels of a European security and defence policy architecture, which is not very much consistent with Ireland, as some people might believe. My experience has been quite different. Indeed, I was very agreeably surprised to find that in the context of my appointment as an operation commander from a neutral country, in the context of European security and defence policy, to go to Paris and an OHQ in Paris, have 23 nations represented on my staff, have 26 nations in all contributing troops today to the force, and to see how European security and defence policy worked, I was really taken aback by the oversight that Brussels has in relation to each operation, and the accountability that I had to Brussels in this area.
Okay, but what about the Lisbon Treaty, Lieutenant General, and indeed particularly what it says about the European Defence Agency? You know, people see this as actually an opportunity now for the armaments industry in the EU to grow, and that they'll be, you know, if you take the conspiracy theory on this, they'll be developing or finding or fueling wars to enable their own industries.
That's very loaded, if you don't mind me saying so.
I think in that context...
Well, okay, well, we'll get back to you in a moment. Okay, go on ahead, Lieutenant General.
Yes, sorry, just to, in that context, first of all, to take the situation about Lisbon and the whole question of where it's going. In my position, I was appointed by the Government of Ireland on the 15th of October 2007 to the Op Commander. It was the Government of Ireland nominated me in the context of Ireland having cleared through the Dáil with a United Nations mandate, and in the government decision that Ireland would contribute to this force, the Triple Lock. That is in vogue and still continues to be in vogue, with an absolute power to the Irish people to decide when and where troops will soldier on behalf of this country and on behalf of what organisation.
Okay, but Alan says neutrality, this is one of our listeners, is a red herring. It's the ability of the arms industry to get a seat at the top table that is at issue. What other industries are looking for the same deal? Yes, that's the point, actually, that neutrality to a certain extent has hijacked the issue about the militarisation of the EU, that in fact it's the EDA is the central issue in all of this in terms of the lobby industries by the arms industries in Europe.
Okay. Right, from my practical, and this is not political, this is strictly from a soldier's perspective. In the present situation, we have military equipment is becoming ever more expensive. We, in the small defence forces in Ireland, where we have reduced dramatically, but where we need to have the best equipment with smaller numbers you need to be in order to have operational capabilities, we have to go to the market. The market at the moment is indeed some of the non-aligned countries or the neutral countries. Sweden, for instance, Switzerland are some of the major producers of armaments. Research and development is very expensive for people like us. Therefore, if there is a situation where we can purchase from a central authority, where Ireland at the table has a say in how that authority is run, how it is governed, what its principles are, and what its modus operandi, that is very important. But let me take a different situation from where we could find ourselves if this does not come about because of the costs of weapons, etc. In the context of United Nations missions at the moment, most of these missions have troops from developing and non-developed countries going into theatre. The weapons, the armaments, the air assets are by and large the cast-offs of the major powers that are being rented by the United Nations and handed over to these countries to use on behalf of the United Nations in theatre. Do we want to go to that situation?
Okay.
Or would we prefer to have our indigenous capabilities with our own arms capable of purchasing them at a proper price and where the Irish taxpayer can see exactly what he's getting for his book?
Okay, thank you for that. Richard Boyd-Barrett.
Well, first of all, I mean, I do have to pull you up, Karen, on the way the issue of the arms trade is described as a conspiracy. Or
that's how some people see it.
Well, I just think it's a very loaded...
We've very little time. You've
very loaded...
Okay,
very simply, the treaty calls on member states to progressively upgrade their military capabilities and gives the EDA, the European Defence Agency, powers to define how that should be done. I'm against the arms trade. I'm against expanding the arms trade. I'm against spending money on more and more sophisticated ways to kill innocent people, as is being done in Afghanistan currently, and tragically Irish troops are involved in that, in a NATO-run war, which has killed thousands of Afghanis, which is a completely immoral war. What the Lisbon Treaty will do will give us a closer relationship with the NATO military alliance and calls on states to upgrade their military capabilities. I'm against that. That money should be spent on health and education.
Richard, first of all, the EDA is about rationalising the arms industry. It's about ensuring that the Irish Defence Forces, for instance, when they go to Chad, are not armed with pea shooters, that they are armed in a way which enables them to carry out their task of defending the 400,000 refugees that are there.
Should you have a relationship with NATO?
Okay, we have to go to news very quickly. I need to wrap. Declan Ganley.
I agree with what General Nash said. The only thing I would say is, if we're going to give these powers to the Union, then we need to make sure that the people running the place are democratically accountable to us, and they're not.
Irish
and they're not under the Lisbon Treaty.
Yes, sorry. Irish ministers and
MPs. Is he in favour of the European Union having a relationship with the NATO military alliance?
Mr. Ganley,
yes or no?
The Defence Agency will be accountable to the European Parliament and
the
ministers.
Okay, we have to leave it there because we've loads to do, but thank you very much for coming into the studio. To Richard Boyd-Barrett, Prionsias De Rossa, I'm really sorry to cut across all of you now, but we have run out of time. To Declan Ganley and to you too, Lieutenant General Pat Nash.